monsters out here.
Primitive War has finally released to streaming platforms. And so I finally got the opportunity to watch the movie, as it's a dinosaur movie that I was very intrigued about. It's not exactly a big budget blockbuster like the Jurassic series, but it's still a good enough movie to discuss and watch. This movie is formulated from the very popular novels, and whilst I may not have read the novels just yet, I still believe that this movie is actually really good and much better than most of the Jurassic movies. So today we're going to give my first initial review, as only last night I was able to watch the movie, and of course I was taking notes throughout it to identify where it was strong and where it was quite weak. So once you're sat back, relaxed with your snacks at the ready, it's time to jump into my review of the Primitive War dinosaur movie. So I'm a very optimistic person, so I try to be optimistic on the channel, but firstly we are going to start off with the bad side of things for Primitive War. Firstly, I do want to say, whilst I appreciated how badass this movie really was, at the same time it did have its moments where it was just kind of a little bit too over the top. Now I probably should have said this to begin with, but there are spoilers ahead in this video. But during the ending sequence where we get to see tens of thousands or whatever Utah raptors running around causing havoc in the Russian camp, for me personally, I feel as though that was just a little bit too over the top. They felt more like a Call of Duty Black Ops Zombies game rather than anything else. I mean, okay, you can introduce more Utah raptors, maybe have about 10 of them, maybe 20 of them, but having the thousands that were literally there and they seemed like they were just never ending, for me personally, it was just way over the top. And the fact that the humans were even able to survive this long against that many Utah raptors wasn't exactly too realistic. And I know this isn't a realism movie, that's completely fine, but I think when you do go face to face with dinosaurs in this type of style of movie, you expect them to kind of die off. So plot armor was quite heavy in that sequence, and I feel as though it was just a little bit over the top in some sequences. But again, those were only minor sequences, they weren't exactly the majority of the movie, so do take that with a pinch of salt if you haven't already watched the movie just yet. But continuing on the topic of minor details, for me personally, I felt as though there was an issue with the pacing. Now hold your horses, I don't mean the pacing for the whole entire movie, because when you look at it from a broad aspect, yes, this movie's pacing is quite good. But when you do look at individual scenes, a lot of them, I don't know, for me, felt a little bit dragged out. Those scenes could have just ended a lot sooner, they didn't really feel like they needed to be in that place, and when I thought the scene was ending, it then went on for a long period of time that I was totally not expecting. And then some individual scenes also felt as though they were just a little bit rushed and a little bit off. So this isn't a correlation to the whole entire movie, this is more on the topic of small individual sequences and scenes throughout Primitive War. Some of them just felt really slow and dragged out, and then some of them felt really rushed and a little bit off. Oh, and for some reason, the audio in the movie, I don't know what it is, but I feel as though I heard or saw a rumor somewhere that the audio in some screenings was a little bit off, and personally when I was watching it, it felt like the audio was a little bit off as well. It was quite hard to understand and hear some characters sometimes, so they could have worked on the audio a little bit better. But that's literally all of the bad points that I have for Primitive War, and they are only minor details. Sometimes it was a little bit over the top, there were some individual scenes pacing issues, and of course some audio issues. But other than that, it was a very solid movie. So let's get into the good side of Primitive War. This movie, ladies and gentlemen, would you believe it, was only made on a $7 million budget. Now I know that isn't as small of a budget as some dinosaur movies that you probably have seen out there on Amazon Prime, but either way, $7 million is still a low budget, but still produced something excellent. The CGI of the dinosaurs were absolutely breathtaking at times. Of course, maybe there were 4 or 5 scenes where the dinosaurs did look a little bit iffy, but overall, the vast majority of the scenes involving the dinosaurs, they looked very realistic and very good. And that's actually really surprising on a $7 million budget. To me at least, this movie looks more like a $25 budget, $30 million budget. So the CGI was fantastic. And here's one thing that I think some people are definitely going to disagree with me on, but personally, I think it did better than The Lost World and Dominion at making these dinosaurs feel like actual dinosaurs. Sure, there were some chaotic scenes at times, especially with the T-Rex and the Utah Raptors, but again, when you look at the rest of the movie, realistically speaking, it just made the dinosaurs actually feel like animals. There's even one scene where you get to see a Triceratops and an elephant kind of working together and just herding up together as well. And we do kind of see that in Jurassic World Dominion, but we don't see too much of it. And Primitive War kind of expands on it, but doesn't make it the prime focus. It just happens in the background. So if you notice it, you start to realize, oh wow, Primitive War does a great job in making these dinosaurs feel like actual animals and not just big death monsters. And talking of deaths, the deaths in the movie were fantastic. They were some of the best deaths I have ever seen. Some of them a little bit too gruesome for my liking, but I didn't turn away. I just looked at it and felt just quite heartbroken, to be honest. But either way, these deaths were just incredible. And, maybe it's just like the oversaturation of the Jurassic franchise and having a lack of deaths in the franchise recently. But personally, I thought the deaths in Primitive War were excellently done. They looked really good, and they actually had a lot of moral implications to them as well. You actually started to feel for these characters because it wasn't just them dying off, but they had to tackle their own suicidal thoughts and battles, and then you had moments where you started to feel more for the friends than the people dying. That to me is very well done. I love it when they do that. I mean, I hate it at the time whilst watching it because it really breaks my heart and I do feel really bad for them, but I love it at the same time because it brings those reactions out of me. It felt very authentic with the deaths. And again, flowing into authenticity, it felt like an authentic, realistic representation of the Vietnam War from an American perspective. This is obviously from me, considering I am European, so bear that in mind, but you kind of see that, and you kind of see how the Vietnam War was essentially pointless to an extent. I'm probably going to get some shit for that. But you start to get an insight and you see the war crimes that were going on in Primitive War as well. Now, of course, war crimes are never good, but, it's a realistic representation. That's what happened, and that's what Americans sometimes do when they do go off on these wars. So the fact that they didn't shy away from it, of course, it's not great to actually have it happen, but the fact that the movie didn't shy away from it and tried to keep it realistic that these are the unfortunate events of war, it made the movie feel a little bit more grounded to an extent. But now we talk about the characters of Vulture Squad. They felt so intact and there was so much banter between them, and it didn't feel like anybody was really left out. It felt like everyone was kind of commanding their own posts, everyone had a major role in the movie, and yes, whilst Baker was the main character, I still feel as though there were plenty of characters that could have easily taken the main character slot. Every single one of them was very well balanced. And they kind of had to be because the dinosaur action was great. It was the right amount of tame, but it was big at the same time. And I'm just so appreciative of the way that they handled the dinosaurs. There are some moments where you just look at the herbivores and you find them beautiful. But then there were some moments where you look at the carnivores and you're just like, yeah, shit's about to go down, and it bloody well did. So the dinosaur action in Primitive War was excellent. And overall, the story, whilst again I haven't really read the novels, held up very, very well, and I am very appreciative of it. Personally, I've only watched it once, so I am going to go ahead and watch it a second time just to reinvigorate my thoughts, but these are just off the top of my head right now after watching the movie for the very first time. But I'm interested to know what you guys think, so head on down to the comments and let me know your thoughts and opinions on Primitive War. If you haven't watched it just yet, please go ahead and watch it, support these small movies because, without us, they kind of aren't going to be a thing, so keep going, keep supporting the smaller movie industry, and honestly, it's one of those movies that it's lower budget and it is a smaller movie, but it feels like a big movie at the same time, so hopefully you won't be disappointed. Personally, I would say that it's an 8.5 out of 10, and that it is better than Jurassic World Rebirth, that's for sure. Be sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe if you are new around here if you want more dinosaur movie content, as more dinosaur movies will hopefully be made in the future. But most importantly, make sure you're all staying safe out there, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.
I'm telling you guys, there's monsters out here.
Hey, did you enjoy the video? Well, why not leave a like and subscribe for more Jurassic content? I appreciate every single one of you for reaching this point into the video and supporting me this far. If you wish to support me even further, then feel free to head on down to the description where you can find links to donate, my Patreon, and you can also press that join button to become a member here on YouTube and gain access to some awesome emojis. A massive thank you to all of the YouTube members for this month, as well as the amazing fans over on Patreon too. Your extra bit of support really goes a long way. But for now, I wish you a great rest of your day.